Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vatsari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vatsari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajaktacharya Stratara Sota, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Morning, everyone. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, Text 48. Haeva etam hari medasa hari katam sabhadram kataniya mahena Shinvita bhakta shravayata voshitam janadano syasu hiri prasiditi. Ya eva etam harimera so hari katan subhadram kataniya mayina shinvita bhaktya savayeta voshitam Janadanosyasu Ridi Prasididati. Someone want to try? Nayeva etam harimera sohari. Janadanosyasu Ridi Prasaditi. Yaeva metam harimera sohari. Katan sabhadram katiniya mayina. Shinrita vatam bhadayevoshitam. Janadanosyasu riya kashaiditi. Ladies? Nayedamitam harimera sohari Katam sabhadram kataniya mayana Shinrita vancha saiteva voshitam Janadanosyasu hridhi prasidati. Yaeva etam harimera sohari Katam sabhadram kataniya mayana Shinrita bhaktya shaviyeta yoshitam Janadanosyasu hridhi. Ya, one who evam, thus, etam, this, harimerasaha, who destroys the material existence of the devotees. Hare, of the personality of Godhead. Katam, narration. Subhadram, auspicious. Kataniya, worthy to narrate. Mayanaha, of the merciful by his internal potency. Shinvita, hears. Bhaktya, in devotion. Shravayata, also allows others to hear. Va, either. Ushitam, very pleasing. Janardanaha, the Lord. Asya, his. Ashu, very soon. Hridhi, within the heart. Prasidati, becomes very pleased. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki. If one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Bore, which is worthy of description, the Lord, who is within the heart of everyone, is very pleased. Please repeat. If one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Bore, which is worthy of description, the Lord, who is within the heart of everyone, is very pleased. Purport. In his various incarnations, the Lord appears, acts, and leaves behind him a narrative history which is as transcendental as he himself. Every one of us is fond of hearing some wonderful narration, but most stories are neither auspicious nor worth hearing because they are of the inferior quality of material nature. Every living entity is of superior quality, spirit soul, and nothing material can be auspicious for him. Intelligent persons should therefore hear personally and cause others to hear the descriptive narrations of the Lord's activities, for that will destroy the pangs of material existence. Out of his causeless mercy only, the Lord comes to this earth and leaves behind his merciful activities so that the devotees may derive transcendental benefit. Namagyanatammirandasya Ganangana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitanyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we have been hearing about quite a unique pastime of Krishna coming as a boar and rescuing the earth from the bottom of the ocean and saving the earth also from the tyranny of one bad guy named Hiranyaksha. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually full of these transcendental pastimes. And for a devotee we hear this term all the time, transcendental pastimes, but it's something that we kind of lose the meaning of to some degree, I guess, just through hearing them so much. Like Prabhupada is saying in the purport that we are a spirit soul. And because we are spiritual in nature, the only thing that will please or satisfy or give us some contentment in our heart is when we are in contact with that spiritual energy. So in this world, in our conditioned state, we find ourselves thinking that everything is material around us. But in actuality, there is a spiritual essence to everything. But because of our conditioning and, with our senses, we can't perceive or see that. But when we become devotees, we hear about this whole other world, the spiritual world, and how Krishna, the supreme spiritual being, as we say the supreme personality of Godhead, how he comes to this world. And he comes for many reasons, but generally he comes at the plea of either the demigods or the devotees to give them some relief from the sufferings of this material world. So Krishna comes according to the circumstances, and according to those circumstances he will come in different ways. And this is the creativity of God, that he can manifest himself in any way he likes, because his body is not like ours. His body is made of Sat, Chit and Ananda, fully spiritual, and he can expand himself into another form to perform a certain activity, whatever that need may be. So in this case, he came in this form of a boar. But in other circumstances, he comes in different forms. And for the devotees, hearing about these incarnations or these avatars it becomes very relishable to the devotees. And we all have our favorite pastimes. Some devotees, they like to hear about Lord Nrsingadev. You know, it's a beautiful story. Well, kind of brutal story in the beginning, but finishes up kind of brutal also. But the underlying sweetness of that pastime, although there's a lot of sort of killing going on, there's this underlying sweetness that Prahlad, this young boy, 5 years old, is totally in a state of feeling that he's protected by the Lord. So in many instances, many circumstances, his father tried to take his life, tried to kill him. But in all those circumstances, Krishna protected him. And at some point, Krishna became so furious, so angry, that he had to intervene in these dealings between Prahlad and his father. So he comes in a form in order to fulfill all these different boons that were given to this person, Hiranyakashipu. So he comes as a half man, half lion, and he wipes the floor with this bad guy, Hiranyakashipu. So we all have different pastimes that are dear to us for some reason. Maybe we feel we have some connection in our lives where something similar has happened, and we have felt that also, that Krishna was there for us. I had one of my cousins. She wasn't necessarily a religious or spiritual even, but she had this horrific incident happen to her. She was kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend and taken away and brutally, you can add in whatever you want. Basically, he did all kinds of things to her. And finally the police found out where he took her, and they came and they surrounded the house, and they kicked in the door, and just as they kicked in the door, he went into where he had her, and he said, "Look what you've made me do now," and just like shot himself in the head. So she was obviously very traumatized from that situation, but she told me, she said, through all those horrific things that were done to me, I felt a protection I'd never felt before. And we were speaking a little bit about it with her, and so she had this understanding that no matter what happened to me, she was being protected, which is, for her, was something very comforting. And in our lives, we've all had circumstances where we've maybe been in situations where we've felt this empowerment or this protection. So Krishna is there always with us. Like at the end of the purport, Prabhupada says that, or in the verse, Krishna is within our heart. So he is always there with us. But as devotees, we understand what that means. And hearing about how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees, it really softens our heart and gives us an understanding of God that we may not have been privy to before. Because generally, especially if we grow up with Christianity or Islam or those kind of traditions, God is, he's kind of a bit of a judgmental character. You got to live in a certain way. You got to do this, and if you don't do that, you're going to get sent to some place, or if you're being good, then you're going to get sent to this place. So it's very, fear-based concept of God, the awe and reverence or the fear of God. Whereas when you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, you find this whole different concept of God, where He's always there for us. He's always showing how much He cares and loves us. And so I thought I would open it up a little bit more now, because hearing about these pastimes of Krishna is really, it has this effect on the heart, as we're hearing in the verse. Hearing of these pastimes of the Lord is all auspicious. And that auspiciousness is that it removes or cleanses our heart, removes all these dirty things from the heart. And in so doing, the heart becomes soft. Right now our hearts, they're like rocks, they're like stones. Just because of the struggle for existence that we've been going through, we understand the struggle we've been through in this life, let alone for millions and millions of lives before. So due to that struggle, we've had to protect our hearts from all kinds of things. So it's become hard now. But the process of bhakti is to turn that stone-like heart to butter. And the process for doing that is hearing. Sounds very simple, right? Hearing. But what do we hear? We can go on YouTube, we can hear anything and everything from, all types of conspiracy theories to sports to anything you can think of. Or you can go on social media, and there's plenty of people saying all kinds of stuff there too. And hearing through the ear these transcendental pastimes of Krishna, or speaking these pastimes about Krishna, has the same effect. So if we're narrating, we're speaking these to someone, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, that when we are speaking or we're hearing these pastimes, the purification is happening. So I thought I'd share a couple of my favorite pastimes. And also we have coming up in a couple of weeks, we have another incarnation. Well, we have Krishna coming as himself in the form of Lord Caitanya. So it's his appearance day in a couple of weeks. So maybe if anyone would like to share their favorite Lord Caitanya pastime, so I'm going to share a couple of mine. There's just when Lord Caitanya was beginning to manifest himself as, well, to his devotees, who were starting to let them know who he was. And in one of these instances, it's called the Mahaprakash Leela, he actually sits on the throne of Lord Vishnu's throne in one of the devotees' houses. And he sits up there and he begins to call the devotees up one by one, and he begins to speak to them. And in he speaks to quite a few devotees in this pastime. But there's a few, I have a real thing where when I feel Krishna Sorry about that. When I feel Krishna's gratitude for us. So in this pastime, excuse me, I'll get it together soon. So in this pastime, he calls up a devotee, and he says, "Do you remember when you and your family were walking down by the river, and some dacoits came, and they started to chase you? You came down to the river, and you're waiting for a boatman to come to try and get across to escape from them." He said, "But there was no boats." So you were praying, "Krishna, please help me." And all of a sudden his boat came. And you quickly got on the boat, just escaping from them. Somebody else? Anybody else like to share for a minute?
Being in a situation where we feel like we've been chased by dacoits, and maybe in the form of the material energy, just as it says here, the pangs of material existence, and we pray for some sort of boat to arrive, and somehow or other, by the Lord's mercy, we come in contact with the devotees in some form or other, and that contact with the devotees leads us to the association of the contact with an acharya, and we hear about this process, and like you say, everything that seemed impossible before starts to become possible, and suddenly there is a boat that we can cross this material existence. And as actually is described today in the verse, that we should hear personally and cause others to hear the descriptive narrations of the Lord's activities, for that will destroy the pangs of material existence. There's a verse that says, while we are listening to these classes, our hearts become free of envy, we become peaceful, we become attracted by these beautiful pastimes. Anybody else? Thank you.
Very nice class, Krishna. Thank you. I was thinking also, there's another verse, there's so many verses in Bhagavatam similar to this one, and one of my favourites, if I can remember it, is Srimbatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanat Hiddantastohi Abhadrani Vinunoti Suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So I was thinking some of the same Sanskrit words in that verse are also in this one, auspicious narrations. And so on. And sometimes it's said that we don't very often think of Krishna as a cleaner, but that's actually what he's doing from within the core of our heart. Picture it as you like, with a big broom, or but he's actually cleansing desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has just developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. And I was thinking of another and very, very important point you made at the beginning, how in the Abrahamic religions there is this predominant fear of the supreme, but not so much love. And yeah, God-fearing, thank you, Ram. And I was thinking, we heard a story of one of our godbrothers in America early days. He was invited onto a television station to explain Krishna consciousness. And it appeared, that the television presenter was a friendly fellow and just wanted to hear what is this Hare Krishna movement all about. So that was in the preliminary, just before the devotee went into the studio and the cameras were rolling. But the first question that the interviewer asked the devotees, is it true that you worship miniature trees and flying pigs? Big pigs, little trees. I think we all catch that, right? Tulsi Devi and Lord Bohr. So, people and I mean, this was Lord Bohr's incarnation along with, as you mentioned, Lord Narasimha Dev, and then we can go through the other wondrous forms of the Lord, also Kurma Avatar, Sesha, Lord Sesha, Ananta Sesha, snakes, tortoises, half man, half... Matsya Avatar. Are there any other wondrous ones? Sorry? Horse, yes, Hayagriva. So the list is... so for missionaries coming to India over the last thousands of years, I mean, that was pretty tough in the Puranas, hearing that the Supreme Lord appears as a boar and these other wondrous forms. They have some idea. But of course, Vaishnavas, or aspiring Vaishnavas, and the difficulty can be reconciled by just posing the question, well, is God limited or unlimited? And of course, most theists will have to say, well, he's unlimited. So don't limit him to just being a form that you can somehow or other conceive of, whether personal or impersonal. So, someone else? Comment, ladies?
Pastime? What's your favorite pastime?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a lovely class. My favorite pastime is the Govardhana pastime, and the lesson that Lord Indra gets about pride. So in my own path, I can see when I get puffed up. And I try to remember this pastime because we watch this pastime, we read about it with Krishnapad quite a bit. And the sense of pride that can puff us all up in different times and different moments on the path. But then that sense of remembering, where is it that we're actually getting any power that we have, that we're getting it from Krishna himself. And when we remember this, it's very humbling. Makes us feel, oh, okay, I actually know my position. Yes, I'm a spirit soul. I'm a servant of Krishna. And so when Indra has this realization, and I feel myself getting puffed up, I fail a lot, but I try to remember this pastime.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class. And thank you for being vulnerable with us, KG. It was really nice. It showed that bhakti yoga is a heart process. So, thank you. One of my favorite pastimes is when Krishna sees the lady merchant with like all of the fruits and things like that, and he wants some, so he goes and he innocently grabs a handful of grain, and he's carrying it to the lady, and all the grain is falling out of his hand, and then all he can offer is what he has in his hand, and she gives him like so many fruits and things like that, and then he just gives her jewels, you know. And for me, that shows that no matter what little we have, if we do it with sincerity and we do it with the right intention, then Krishna will give us more than we could ever imagine. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Ikshvaku Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, thank you. Favorite pastimes? Well, Jagai Madai is always one that quite, shall we say, prominent in our line, because doesn't matter. I mean, Prabhupada always explains that if they were delivered, then everyone has a chance. And Prabhupada often he comments on that pastime, and in several sections of his teachings, in his purports and classes and letters, that he says, in Kali Yuga, practically everyone is at that level. And when we read Bhagavad Gita and we hear how Krishna describes the demoniac nature, and often we use this word demons, and a friend of mine always says demons doesn't have to be with horns and fangs and tails and claws and things like that, but just a quick search on what's happening in the world right now, how people are killing each other, not only in wars, but the level of criminality that is there, the maliciousness, the evilness, that it's sometimes kids. Somehow I was watching something, the documentary on children's crimes, and it's just horrible. And and I think, wow, this is what have we come to, And Kali Yuga is really fast expanding its influence everywhere, and all what I can think of is like, okay, but there's a chance, And just yesterday I was reading something and I thought Prabhupada emphasizes the importance of chanting, and then I sort of had a chronological picture how when Prabhupada came, I mean, he was preaching the philosophy in the temple, but then he was just encouraging everyone to chant and chant and chant and chant and chant. And then somehow he attracted what he calls in his purports all these Jagais and Madais. And here we are. We have a chance. So all sprouts from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he wanted. And more than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Prabhupada often said, the devotee is more merciful than the Lord. I remember reading that and I thought, okay, there's an editorial mistake here or something. The devotee is more merciful than the Lord. Then that's why Lord Nityananda in that pastime is the one who's struck with the earthen pot and he's bleeding. Although the Lord doesn't bleed, that's one of the descriptions. But he was bleeding just to show that, I mean, one should be ready to take all sort of, pains and troubles and tribulations for the sake of saving others. And that's what Prabhupada showed. So clearly in those pastimes, and by the example of Prabhupada particularly, we can see that how the devotee is more merciful than the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, also hearing pastimes of the great devotees is also very transcendentally beneficial. Hearing Prabhupada, we just had Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj's parents' day, so it's all these occasions are a chance for us to hear more and more, understand and learn more about these personalities, and Anyone else? I'm a little bit more composed now. But yeah, for me, the gratitude, especially with Lord Chaitanya, you really see how he's so grateful for what the devotees do for him. You know, they put themselves on the line so much. So, in that pastime, you know, he calls up Haridas Thakur. And Haridas was being beaten, not just beaten, he was whipped and beaten and dragged into 22 different marketplaces around Navadvip. And the reason they dragged him to so many different marketplaces is basically to say, if you want to be like this, this is what's going to happen to you. So he was being beaten and beaten and beaten, but the guys who were doing the beating, after some time, realized that this guy's not feeling any pain. He's even smiling at us and looking up at us like compassionately. It's like, what the hell's going on? Who is this guy? So in this pastime, the Mahaprakash, Lord Chaitanya calls Haridas up and he says, do you remember when you were being beaten in those marketplaces? He said that I came down to kill them because of what they're doing to you, but then I looked into your eyes and I seen the compassion you had for them. So, sorry, I don't know what's going on today. So he said I couldn't kill them. He said, so what I did, I put my back over your back. And when you were being beaten, I was taking those lashes for you. And he said, look, Haridas, look at my back. So he turned around. And on Lord Chaitanya's back, there was all these lash marks. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to stop.